and welcome to the Martini Shot, home of movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails. My name is Brandon. Before we get into the review of Wonka, why don't you come with me so you can see a cocktail of pure imagination named the Silver Lining. If you're up wonking your Willy and you need a drink that captures the sweet inventiveness of Willy Wonka, look no further than the Silver Lining cocktail. This drink is actually a combination of two different chocolates Wonka creates in the film, the Hover Choc and the Silver Lining. The drink itself is more closely connected to Hover Choc's stated flavor profile of chocolate, marshmallow, caramel, and cherry, while the garnish is reflective of the actual Silver Lining chocolate, which is made with cotton candy and a lightning bolt. This is a pleasantly sweet dessert cocktail that doesn't even require a bunch of orange men's slave labor, making this drink both ethical and OSHA certified. Let's get into it. This will be a shaken cocktail, so go ahead and grab your shaker. First, we're going to be starting off with some milk. You can use whatever milk substitute you like if you don't want to use whole milk. And you're going to add 1 ounce. Following that up, we have 2 different syrups we're going to be utilizing. First, we're going to be using some cherry syrup, which for me, I'm just using the liquid found in a normal jar of maraschino cherries. And you're going to be adding 3/4 ounces. And then follow that up with 1/4 ounce of salted caramel syrup. Now first for our alcohol, we're going to be starting with a very, very small amount of blue curacao. That's just going to push the color closer to what we're looking for. Next, you're going to want to use the clear creme de cacao at 1/2 ounce. And then finally, 2 ounces of marshmallow vodka. If you can find a store-bought version, you're more than welcome to use that, but this is also a very, very easy infusion to do at home, so that's what I ended up doing. Once you got everything in your shaker, go ahead and throw some ice in there and give it a good hard shake. Once you're done, go ahead and strain that into a chilled coupe glass, and then garnish it with a cloud of cotton candy and a lightning bolt lemon peel. And there you go, now you have the Silver Lining. Deliciously desserty, but not in an overbearing way like I find a lot of other dessert cocktails. Typically, they'll tend to be a little bit too chocolatey or a little bit too heavy on the cream, and it really just becomes kind of a fight for my stomach to drink an entire one of those. Here, everything remains lighter, but you're still getting a lot of those familiar flavors. The chocolate is very apparent, paired really well with that salted caramel. The cherry syrup brings in a nice little sweetness. And if you put that cotton candy a little too close to the drink, it will start to kind of bleed into there, which will also sweeten it up a bit. But yeah, overall, I think this is a nice little spin on the traditional dessert cocktail. It has a lot of the flavors you would expect, but presentation-wise and even kind of mouthfeel-wise, you get a much different experience. And as you can see, it doesn't stay too pretty for too long, so definitely get your pictures in at the beginning of the drink. Now that we have our drink, let's swing our way into the review of Wonka. Pointless Origin Stories, also known as POS. Copyright. Trademarked. LLC. These have been the flavor of the month, or should I say several years, in the realm of Hollywood filmmaking. Not quite as unoriginal as a remake and not quite as anticipated as a sequel, these prequel films offer a glimpse into the lives of beloved characters before they became an actual beloved character. But more often than not, you're left wondering why we needed this information in the first place. I know I didn't need to see why Cruella hates Dalmatians so much or how Han Solo got his name. More often than not, these don't add much to the character or IP beyond an explanation of where their iconic hat came from. But of course, there are always outliers. I know my ass will be seated firmly for the opening day of Furiosa next year. These films can work when they aren't just excuses to wink and nod until your eye closes up and your neck goes sore. That was my main fear of Wonka, a prequel film that would give us a glimpse at the early life of Roald Dahl's eccentric chocolate maker. Obviously, there were big shoes to fill, as the 1971 film starring Gene Wilder is regarded as a classic, remembered for its whimsy, catchy songs, and underlying cynicism. And the 2005 film was also a movie that was made with actors and things. I was instilled with a little hope, however, when I heard that Paul King, director of the Paddington films, would be taking on the challenge. Those 2 films are highly regarded for their charm and carefree whimsy, so King may have just been the man for the job. That definitely seems to be the case, as Wonka ended up being a ton of fun, manifesting the concept of childlike wonder into a sweet, glittery musical. The songs are fun, the performances are charming, and the set design is creative and extravagant. It does enough to differ itself from both theatrical iterations, which may leave you yearning for a bit more of that nihilistic weirdness. But as its own recipe, it's sure to satisfy a sweet tooth for lighthearted, candy-coated silliness. Wonka details the rags to riches tale of Willy Wonka, a magician turned chocolate maker who looks to earn his fortune in Europe by opening a chocolate shop at the world-famous Galleries Gourmet. But when hard times times befall him, like monopolistic chocolate conglomerates and indentured servitude, Wonka must rely on his ingenuity and new friends to overcome the odds and share his gift of making sweets with the world. I'll admit, I've been kind of clowning on this film since I saw the first trailer, particularly because of Timothée Chalamet's performance. Chalamet is an undeniably phenomenal actor, most known for his dramatic roles from the likes of Call Me By Your Name, Little Women, and Dune. The role of Willy Wonka was quite a vibe shift from his MO, and truthfully, the trailer didn't exactly sell me on his ability to capture the off-kilter zaniness of Gene Wilder's iconic performance. But I knew he had that dog in him. One only has to look at his old YouTube videos to know that. Upon seeing the film, I actually thought he did a pretty good job capturing a gullible yet well-meaning dreamer ready to see goodness put into the world. While not exactly layered and occasionally inconsistent in his believability, Chalamet's Wonka is endearing and a lightning rod for optimism and bright side gazing. Not to mention the physicality Timothée displays, doing a bang-up job with his singing and dancing, towing the line of bubbliness just enough as to not be too overbearing or sickly sweet. Chalamet does validate himself as an actor with the range to move from the dark to the light when the role calls for it. His chemistry with a young orphan named Noodle, played by Kayla Lane, is one of the film's highlights. The chemistry of the two is a joy to see unfurl, with both being connected by loss, yet each finds a spark of hope or ingenuity in the other. The supporting cast fills the film out with comedic and at times dastardly performances from Keegan-Michael Key, Olivia Colman, Matt Lucas, and Sally Hawkins. The goofiness is cranked all the way up and everyone gets to do a silly little accent and really bounce off the wall here. And then there's Hugh Grant, who, from the sounds of it, had to be put on a special watch while making this. He plays an Oompa Loompa, and I think he might even tell you his performance feels very phoned in. I get it, it's not the most meaty role out there, but hey, if you can be in that boring Guy Ritchie film from this year, you can probably afford to be in something a little bit more fun. Like its two predecessors, Wonka is sweetened with several musical numbers, many of which feature extensive choreography that makes great utilization of the setting. There's some decent earworms in there, like the opening Hatful of Dreams, which outlines Wonka's goals and intentions in a classically upbeat manner. Scrub Scrub, a sliver of upbeat camaraderie meant to mask the monotonous days in the bowels of a laundromat. Sweet Tooth, a persuasive villain song detailing the exchange of chocolate for murder. And for a moment, an uplifting ray of sunshine that briefly takes you to another world void of the troubles that plague you. There are plenty more songs too, but unfortunately I did find them to start feeling a little bit too samey in both composition and presentation, which made a lot of them start to kind of bleed together in my mind. They are certainly fine for what they are, but I definitely would have welcomed a bit more variety in the music department from time to time. The world of Wonka is split into two parallels, the drab, depressing streets of the poor and the vibrant, sugary world of Wonka's imagination he works to bring to life. What these two worlds share is a practical backbone, with quite a lot of beautifully crafted set pieces and environments. The intricacies in these designs is absolutely what a Wonka movie deserves, and I'm glad the team had fun here, especially with the candy designs from the individual pieces to elaborate lifelike candies Wonka later introduced into his shop. Of course, there is a bit of CGI to bring these fantastic moments to life, and for the most part, they're actually fairly okay. Sometimes the hover chalk feels a bit too separated from the scene, and honestly, the Oompa Groompa effect lacks the genuine presence of the little orange men from the other films. Yet the film is so charmingly dreamlike to the point where I'm willing to forgive a bit of inconsistency. You may be wondering how this film connects to the 1970s film, and to a certain extent, it kinda does and kinda doesn't. There's still a lot of time to pass between where Wonka ends in this film and where he begins in the canon of the original story, but there is a bit of a disconnect between those two characters. The darker, more cynical layers of the character present in Gene Wilder's interpretation are absent in this film, which does make sense given this is the beginning of the character's journey, but I do think this makes him far less interesting. I'm not saying he had to be the same chicken beheading psycho from the original story, but I think seeing glimpses or flashes of the man he would become not only would closer tie the character to the original, but perhaps give the character a bit more inner turmoil to overcome rather than just the simple poor versus wealthy dynamic the film has going for it. This anti-capitalist direction for the film is fine for its basic conflict, though I do wish more could have been done with Wonka himself to make his character arc a bit more internal. Wonka, as you would hope, is a bit like being in a candy shop. It's pretty to look at and often enchanting, offering a wide variety of joyous releases through charming performances, catchy musical numbers, and whimsical visuals. Overexposure may sour you on the more sickly sweet or even artificial flavors the film offers, yet the feeling of childlike wonderment is sure to affect you in one way or another. Chalamet does an admirable enough job captaining the experience, with the film's physical and technical supporting players wrapping everything in a neat, lavish package. Somewhere deep inside, you may find the golden ticket that makes these origin films work, like actual care and respect for the IP and a drive to be original without completely altering what makes the property beloved. It's a fun time if you enjoy musicals, rag to riches tales set in old England, or seeing the light die in the eyes of a seasoned actor. Seriously, I hope someone kept Grant away from sharp objects while filming. For my rating, I'm giving this film 3.5 giraffe milk macaroons out of 5. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Martini Shot. If you saw Wonka, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. And if you like what you saw here and would like to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me across all social media channels. Those links are down in the description below. And if you enjoy movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails, be sure to check out my website, martinishot.blog. Until next time, thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Live deliciously, but please remember to drink responsibly. Thank you.